Hey everybody, how you doing today? This is James Murphy with Evolution for Success. Welcome back to the Thought of the Week, and I am going to talk today about motivation and why people achieve and don't achieve their goals. And I want to give you a little bit of a nuanced perspective in terms of motivation and procrastination, and how does the actual science of the brain here kind of work in regards to, in a simple way, in regards to you staying motivated and moving towards goals and goal achievement. So motivation, I get this all the time. I say, hey, what do you want to do? What do you want to have? What do you want to build? What do you want to create with my clients and that? And I hear it so often. You know, I need to be more motivated, right? I need to create more motivation for myself. I just need to do this stuff, but I don't know how to do it. Or, you know what, I need to end procrastination. That's a big one. Procrastination is a lack of motivation. So let's talk about what motivation actually is, just real quick, in terms of focus and the mindset. And so if someone's really motivated or driven to do something, it's because they find joy and pleasure, not in the activity itself. Like, okay, hey, I'm gonna have my cup of tea. Oh, that tasted so good, right? Oh, right? So we're not motivated in the moment, because when I was just sipping my tea, I was already there. So motivation actually happens before the event that we're trying to be motivated about happens. So if you think about it, hey, I'm trying to get motivated to go exercise. I'm trying to get motivated to make more money. I'm trying to get motivated to do my chores for the day, whatever it is. It's not about the action or the activities so much, is really, if you want to create new habits and new behaviors, the real area to focus on is not on the behavior, but the question is over here, which is, how do I associate into the emotional pleasure, the emotional joy, tap into this anticipation of what I'm going to feel or experience or have once I do the activity over here. So I'm going to say that again because it's so important. How do I tap into the anticipation, the emotional moment, that emotional association connection of what I perceive I'm going to feel or have or experience as a result of doing the action? So I hope you get that, because that's really important. Because if we want to create a new trigger, if we want to create new habits, if we want to become more motivated to do that, we have to ask ourselves, how can I tap into the emotional moment, being emotionally associated to want to do that? So there's several things that do that. One of them is time, because the closer we get to something, it kicks in the reticular activating system, right, to create that tension and that stress to do it. But the other two big things are, is your goal focused or based in pleasure or pain? So that has a huge influence on motivation and this anticipation, because if it's a pain-driven goal, like I don't want to worry about my money anymore, so I have to balance my checkbook. The funny thing is, as soon as you focus in on that pain and then you start to take an action forward to do it, the motivation next time will not be there again, because it was pain-driven. Right? So you're never going to become naturally motivated to do it, or it's not going to be as easy to do that, because you have to keep associating into the pain. And then as soon as you take the action, a little bit of the pain goes away and there's nothing left. There's no joy. There's nothing to look forward to, so that you're moving into the pleasure all the time. Now, on the other hand, but pain does work. We just want to always make sure that we're ending on greater pleasure than the pain that got us going. So we start to short circuit the brain, and over time we'll start to focus on the anticipation of the pain that's released that brings us the pleasure. Otherwise, the second part of that is, of course, how can I stay associated into the pleasure of the goal? Another aspect of that is, what drove the goal? What was the emotion that drove the goal? If the emotion that drove the goal was any negative emotion, anger, sadness, fear, guilt, limiting decision, or whatever, that's going to be what you're driven towards and what this goal is going to represent. That's why people aren't motivated. That's why when you walk into your closet and you're like, hey, do I take the healthy choice here, right? Or something that's maybe good for me that I don't like, right? Sardines, but they're good for me, right? Those omegas, I need some of those. Or you can take the healthier choice, right? Which is, this is good, it's crunchy, but it's not as good as all the sugary stuff over here, right? It's the pain or the pleasure that drives us into that space. So we need to create those new associations when we're creating new habits, when we're creating new thoughts, new ideas, if we really want to stay motivated to create these things, to overcome the procrastination, to make it happen. So the question then becomes, how do we create positive, empowering, emotional expectations and associations to the goal or the things we're telling ourselves we need to do? Anything that's a need, a should, a could, a ought to, a have to, chances are it's not as good. It might be good for you, but it doesn't have the pleasure of, of this, or maybe it only has the pleasure strength of this versus this. So we want to stay focused on how do we always create the greatest amounts of pleasure by moving forward towards the goal. That's where motivation comes in. That's how people are naturally able to achieve more, is because they just start to enjoy what they're doing. So as you think about your goals for 2022, as we move towards that, as you think about what you want to have in your business, what you want to have in your relationships and your finances, ask yourself, how much joy, how much pleasure will I allow myself to have by achieving these things? How much benefit will I have to this? How can I associate into the joy and the pleasure and the benefit of what I'm going to have as a result of doing this? Or as they say in Think and Grow Rich, what's your why? But the why has to be huge and awesome and wonderful and positive and powerful and emotional. So if you want more motivation, if you want to overcome procrastination, focus on the anticipation of the joy and the pleasure of that emotional experience. And you'll really work to set yourself up for success to the greatest possible places. When you look to 2022, don't set your goals based on pain. Set your goals based on what's going to bring you the greatest amount of joy, happiness, fulfillment, success, whatever those positive emotions are. Because right then you'll be kicking in, you'll be hedging your bets on motivation, you'll be hedging your bets to overcome procrastination and be more successful. So keep running your race, continue to have an awesome day, and ask yourself, how can I find and create these emotional moments of association in anticipation of those great things that I'm going to do next?